The Isle of Wight. Sun-soaked beaches, rolling downs, quiet villages tucked between winding lanes. But behind the postcard image lies a darker reputation. Some call it the most haunted island in the world, a place where Roman soldiers still march, where murdered children cry in the night, and where manor houses long since demolished appear again when the clock strikes midnight. Tonight, we're taking a journey right around the island, stopping at the sites where history refuses to rest. Our tour begins near Ryde, winding towards Quar Abbey. In the thick woods that surround the ruins, people walking at dusk report the sound of chanting, low and steady, though no service is held. Some pilgrims say they felt someone walking beside them, robes brushing their arm, only to turn and find no one there. One visitor interviewed in the 90s swore she saw a hooded figure glide into the trees and simply vanish. Just outside Wootton, there stands the lonely Knighton Gorges gateposts, all that remains of a great manor house torn down in 1821. And yet, on New Year's Eve, locals gather to watch the house reappear. Windows lit, music spilling from within, only to vanish again at the stroke of midnight. Ethel Hargreaves, an early 20th century writer, described in her diary how she once saw the house as solid as stone, with lamps burning in every window, though by daylight the place was but fields. Others tell of Sir Tristram Dillington's ghostly horse clattering through the grounds every July. The story of Arreton Manor is one of the island's darkest. In 1560, the heir to the Leigh family is said to have smothered his own father, Barnaby, in a bid for the estate. When his younger sister, Annabel, witnessed the crime, he hurled her from the window to her death. For centuries, guests have reported a girl in a pale blue dress drifting through the halls, crying softly for her mother. During one modern investigation, several visitors heard a child's voice saying, "Please don't push me." Others described the rooms turning icy, even in the height of summer. Not far away, the Hare and Hounds Inn keeps the tale of Michael Morey, a woodcutter hanged in 1737 for murdering his grandson. His corpse was displayed in a gibbet on nearby Gallows Hill for decades. Patrons drinking late have heard heavy footsteps outside, and one landlord told of a cloaked figure entering the front door and fading before he reached the bar. Behind the inn hangs a skull said to be Morey's, though many argue it's just a curiosity. Still, the lane outside is avoided by locals after dark. High above Newport sits Carisbrooke Castle, its walls 1,000 years old. Tourists climbing the battlement often pause, sensing eyes upon them. Guides tell of the Grey Lady, seen walking the moat path, and of Princess Elizabeth, daughter of Charles I, who died a prisoner here in 1650. One visitor in the 1980s reported seeing a pale child standing by the well shaft, only for the figure to dissolve into the ripples on the water. The well chamber is notorious. Workers there hear splashing when the bucket is still, and some refuse to enter alone. Just south of Newport, the old Whitecroft Hospital, once the island's asylum, now stands as private apartments. Yet during its conversion, builders walked off the job after seeing nurses in starched uniforms moving through the locked wards. Residents today still whisper of knocks on the door at night, or footsteps above in empty flats. A caretaker once reported a doctor in a long coat striding across the car park at dawn, before vanishing behind a wall that no longer exists. In Wroxall sits Appuldurcombe House, once one of the grandest estates on the island, now just an empty shell. Visitors speak of monks crossing the lawns, phantom carriages on the drive, and a baby's cry carried on the wind. One guest signed the visitor's book and watched frozen as the page beneath turned by itself. Local legend also speaks of Lady Seymour Worsley, remembered for her scandalous love affairs, who lingers near Fremantle Gate. More than one person has claimed to have seen a veiled woman waiting there at dusk, only to vanish when she's approached. The lush grounds of Ventnor Botanic Garden were once the bleak wards of a tuberculosis hospital. Even today, walkers describe thin, wasted figures drifting between flower beds, and nurses standing in doorways that no longer exist. A gardener once admitted he hated working late, after twice hearing coughing behind him. Dry, hacking, consumptive, though he was entirely alone. Further along the coast, St. Catherine's Lighthouse guards the treacherous rocks of Knighton. Its keepers talk of slamming doors and boot steps on the stairs. Most chilling of all, during a German raid in 1943, 3 keepers were killed. Since then, their voices are said to echo around the tower. One visitor recalled climbing the spiral and hearing a man calling down, warning me not to come up. The guide on duty swore no one else was there. At Shanklin Chine, a dripping gorge beloved of Victorians, evening visitors describe flickering lights among the trees, thought to be will-o'-the-wisps. Moving north, the Isle of Wight steam railway has its own story. In preservation days, volunteers spoke of a ghostly locomotive gliding through the yard without a crew, its lamps extinguished, vanishing into the night. One guard claimed he saw steam drifting across the tracks, when no engines were in steam at all. Based near God's Hill, Billingham Manor unnerved even its later owner, the writer J.B. Priestley. The most famous story is of a severed head seen floating in mid-air by several witnesses in the 1920s, coinciding with an execution at Parkhurst Prison that same day. One guest swore he saw a head, bearded, grimacing, staring at me before dissolving. Other reports include a spectral monk near the coach house, and even the shade of Charles I himself. Priestley admitted he sometimes felt oppressed inside the house. In West Wight, Golden Hill Fort, a massive star-shaped barracks, has long carried tales of pipe smoke in sealed rooms, and a stern sergeant major patrolling the corridors. During the 1980s, when the fort was abandoned and later used for raves, partygoers reported soldiers moving through the crowd who disappeared when touched. Out on the cliffs, the Needles Old Battery watches the sea. Volunteers have heard boots pounding down the echoing tunnel to the searchlight, only to find it empty. Others claim to have seen a camouflage staff car rolling silently down the cliff road, headlights off, before vanishing at the bend. We close at Yarmouth Castle, one of Henry VIII's sea forts. Investigators here believe they've contacted the spirit of Daniel Asher Alexander, a 19th century architect. Visitors report a solitary man walking the ward at night, only to disappear between the embraces. A fisherman once claimed that while standing on the harbour wall, he saw a figure in old military dress pacing the gun platform. When he shouted, the man faded into the stonework. So, there you have it. A small island with a catalogue of ghosts large enough to fill a book. Houses that reappear when they shouldn't, children still crying for their mothers, prisoners still pacing their cells, and soldiers forever marching into the night. But what do you think? Are these tales just folklore, or proof that the Isle of Wight truly is Britain's ghost island? If you've walked these lanes and heard what walks them still, share your story, because out here, you're never walking alone.